Mic check, 1, 2. All right, shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Waharakah, Wadash. I want to say, give double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders, the great millstone, for teaching his word, the truth and sincerity, and for ruling well. And salutations to the elect, more willing with some of those men and women that believe and fear in the name of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, patiently waiting for the day of our salvation, the day of our redemption. Hey, I'm the brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii, coming to you with another lesson, and the title of the lesson is entitled "If I Were a Rothschild," and it comes from a song from I would want to say the 1800s, early 1900s, right? It was a song, I believe it was a Broadway play, right? If I Were a Rothschild, and I remember, my first contact with a song similar to this was when I was a kid. There was a song by a female dance hall artist called Lady Saw. I want to say Lady Saw had a song called "If I Were a Rich Girl." If I were a rich girl. Slocky, just bear with me. I'm just looking it up. But the song has a historical, Lady Saw. If I Was a Rich Girl is a popular dance hall version. The Rich Girl theme performed by Jamaican artist Lady Saw. Right. I'll read this to you. This is the first time I ever heard this song, right? Or a song similar to that, right? And it says it was the rich. If I Was a Rich Girl is a popular dancehall version of the Rich Girl theme performed by Jamaican artist Lady Saw. The song uses famous vocal interpolations originating from Lucci Lou Michi One's 1993 track, which tracks back to If I Were a Rich Man from Fiddler on the Roof, right? And this is what we're going to focus on, the latter portion of that statement, Fiddler on the Roof, because the song was originally entitled If I Were a Rothschild, which was then changed to If I Were a Rich Man, right? Because the Edomite family, known as the banking family, the Rothschilds or Rothschilds, these demons, these devils, they were synonymous for their wealth. But if you look at their so-called meager start, right, you see this house right here in front of you. Supposedly, this is a rendition of the Rothschild family home, which was situated in Judengasse, which they call the ghetto, but the term ghetto was associated with a similar place in Venice, Italy, where they put, so-called Jews, which they wasn't so-called back then. It were actual Jews, like dark skin, brown skin Jews living in the city. But the city Judengasse was situated in Germany, and a bunch of Ashkenazi Jews pretty much stayed there. It wasn't multi-ethnic Jewish. It wasn't a multi-ethnic Jewish community. It was an Ashkenazi Jewish community, right? And like again, by looking at this house right here, and then you're gonna see what they really lived in, right? In less than a generation, in less than one generation, right? These people went from this to this. Where's it at? Where's it at? Right here to this shit right here. They went from this right here, this meager estate, supposedly meager, to this shit right here. These properties right here, multi-billion-dollar properties that lasted for generations to generations. And that's why the Rothschild family, they're synonymous with wealth. Their name is synonymous with wealth. Not just the fact that they're small hats, but mainly wealth. Their enormous wealth, right, that they had achieved over time. And they didn't get that wealth by hard work, dedication, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. No, they got it by wickedness. They got it by the sword. And they maintain it through the sword. They maintain that wealth through the sword, right? This is Jacob Rothschild, you see right here. This is a place that he was building prior to his so-called death, right here, inside Lord Jacob Rothschild's English country estate. Okay, so you see things like this, and you're like, damn, right? They went from June guys, this shit right here, was it like a 4-story house, like 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5-story home. Like even that's luxury compared to what the real Jews live in, right? Or grow up in the ghetto, the real ghetto, right? So I kind of want to focus on that. And what inspired this lesson was I'm watching a current video I was watching by Elder Apostle Bar. Let me see if I can find it, put it up on the screen so I can share it. You brothers and sisters and watch it too. Just bear with me. See if I can find it. Yeah, the Daily Live Show, right here.
That's where it starts.
Right here, Daily Live Show, DLS 8/19/2026. Esau Edom begins with the international banking families because they don't get enough attention, right? They don't get the attention that they truly deserve. You know, when you think about when you think about the Edomites, the first term that comes to your mind is so-called white man, so-called white man. And you'll see different old or modern interactions with Israelites on the corner and Esau walking by. And you see the average Edomite walking by and you associate Edom with them. Now, a lot of them are Edomites, but you got to quantify that because you got Israelites that look like so-called white people walking around here, just like you got Edomites that look like so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans walking around here, right? But the true focus should be on these people, right? One matter of fact, that I have a picture of them, the Rothschilds, right? Let me show you a picture of these devils, man. The Rothschild family, and it's a bunch of them, right? We know some of the more famous ones like Meyer Amschel, Nathan, Jacob Rothschild. Well, this is the he's the heir apparent. This guy right here, one of the heir apparents. He just married Nikki Hilton. She's a daughter of the Hilton family, right? These people right here, these are the Rothschilds. You know, David Meyer Rothschild. They call this nigga Plastic Jesus, aka Cesare Borgia, right here, right? And then they got daughters, they got sons, right? These are the banking elite. These are some of them, because then you got the Oppenheimer family, you got the Rockefeller family. All of them monsters are Edomite, demonic Edomites, and it's not because of their money, right? Because that's what they want you to think. Oh, they hate us because of our wealth, right? Because the rich hate the poor, right? That's why. But you got people begging these people for a crumb off their table, and they'll do anything to get it. They'll sell out. They'll destroy their own kind, right? They'll do whatever it takes just to get a taste of what they think is wealth. Mind you, these people have been living generations and shit like this. Generations, not this. Where's it at? I had it right here. Shit like this. Waddington Manor. I mean, they live better than kings. They live better than kings. And even still, you still don't know where they truly live at. But they're all around this earth. They're scattered around the earth in their wealth, in their pomp. And again, this is what Elder Apostle Bar was saying in this video right here. When we talk about the Edomites, it begins with these people, the upper echelon, right? The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Oppenheimers, these people, and they have different branches, right? These people are higher than princes, bro. You remember the picture of Evelyn? Evelyn? It was a man named Evelyn. Evelyn, the Rothschild, and at the time, Prince Charles, right? Because he wasn't king during that time, but he was waiting to be enthroned, right? This guy, where you had the black woman bowing down to this devil, this nigga put his fucking finger in his chest, right? He's supposed to be this guy. You would think that King Charles, then Prince Charles, you would think that he was running something. He's not running shit. He might be an offshoot of the Rothschild family, but this is Evelyn the Rothschild when he was alive, and he poking his hand in this man's chest, like, nigga, you're the one next, right? You're up next, and you're gonna do a great job for us, right? Because they put him in place. They put his family in place. Right? These are the real money makers, the money changers, right? Right? And it's Evelyn the Rothschild and King John, which they gotta be related. I believe these motherfuckers are related, man. Right? You see them back then with the wine glasses. They were heads of state. This is he was Secretary of State Henry Kissinger at one point, small head. Right? He know who to go to. He know what hands to shake. And these are the kingmakers. Right? These are the kingmakers right here. All of them, they always been that way. Right? They rule behind the throne, the money makers. This is Evelyn the Rothschild when he was younger. Look at these devils. Wealth don't even look good on these monsters. Right? Look at this shit. These people belong in the caves. They belong in chains. They belong as slaves, man. They belong on the bottom. That's where these people belong at. But the Lord have put them in high position, but eventually he's about to take them out. He's about to take them out. He's about to get them. They're about to get taken down. Right? The wine glasses, the flutes, right? The champagne flutes, the suits, the award, all that shit's about to be changed, buddy. Right? And that's who these people are. So without any further ado, right? Any further ado, I want to open up with a precept because these people, this is their blessing. Right? You got these devils, they're trying to get they're trying to go into like a ultra permanent blessing, right? By way of the sword, right? But that blessing is about to be taken over, is about to be over because you're going to serve your brother, right? You're going to serve us, Jacob, the true Israelites. You're going to serve us. And you're not going to be in your pomp. You're not going to be in your circumstance. You're not going to be in your wealth. You're not going to be in your glory. Those days are over, right? This is the book of Genesis chapter 27, right? Because everybody gets all, razzle dazzle about the stolen blessing, which it really wasn't stolen. That was just a controversy that was going to get prophecy rolling, right? Matter of fact, since I said that, let's go to Genesis chapter 25 and we'll start at 19. Genesis 25 and 19. This is the birth of Esau, Edom, and Jacob, Israel, Yasharallah. Genesis 25 and 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. And Isaac entreated Yahweh Bashem Shai for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? Because she was barren. And then when she finally gets pregnant, she having the most tumultuous pregnancy ever. And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. 2 manners of people, 2 different types of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. This is prophecy right here. And we, the true Israelites, we're more powerful than these people in strength. Right? They're in power right now because the earth was given unto them. Right? One of the brothers said the Bloomberg said. Right? One of you brothers can post a precept, was it Job 9 and 24? Right? But these people, they're not stronger than us. They're not stronger than the real Israelites. And they're the elder, and they're going to serve us. So this is prophecy right here. So anything that happened after this was just a controversy that lead to get the prophecy going. Again, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people. We, the true Israelites, we're stronger than the other people, the Edomites. And the elder shall serve the younger. Let's see who's the elder. And when her days were to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. We were fraternal twins. Right? And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment, compared to a hairy garment. And that's Esau. He came out red. I saw a picture of a baby, a white baby, fresh out the womb, right? A white baby, fresh out the womb. Here it is. It's an Edomite baby. An Edomite baby, fresh out the womb. It's disgusting. We all came out this way. Not red, but, you know. Look. And his skin complexion was taken away from him, right? He wasn't brown skin like his father and his mother and his twin brother, right? I don't want to keep watching. This is disgusting. It says, and it first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And eventually, as he got older, he did become hairy, right? And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on his heel. They didn't give his complexion of his brother, but his brother was the same color as his father and his mother, brown skin, what they deemed black today. And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when he bare them, right? 80 years old, meaning he was 60 years old when they were born. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter and a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents, right? Esau, Esau, Edom, in his natural lowest form. This guy is a hunter, right? White people hunting, right? And I'm using white because that's a term you associate with the Edomites today, white, but they're really the Edomites. They're not white. They're different shades of red. This is their natural habitat. They love this shit. You don't really see Israelites out here doing this shit. Now you hunt for food purposes, for necessity, right? But not for sport, right? Or you type in big game hunters, right? Big game hunters, right? Oh, matter of fact, great picture. What's this nigga? Donald Trump Jr. hunting, him and his brother. This is what they do. Yeah, this is what they do. They're big game. This Esau right here. These are Edomites right here. They're the lessers because they're not the Rothschild. Absolutely not. This is what they do. They're big game hunters. This is what Esau does. He was a cunning hunter, right? He was a cunning hunter, right? There. Let's look up that word for cunning. And we're going to get into the topic of the song, but it all makes sense. He was a skillful hunter. That word cunning goes into being a skillful hunter, right? And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. Let me read this in the GMT, the NLT and the AMP. And the boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsman, right? And we know that. But Jacob had a quiet, temperate, preferring to stay at home. And that's how Israelites live. We'd rather be at the crib, chilling, right? When my spare time, my downtime, I'm not out in the wilderness trying to hunt, sleeping in the wilderness, smelling like the outdoors. You don't associate the outdoorsman with so-called black people, right? You associate that with so-called white people. But a quiet, temperate life, preferring to stay at home, you can associate Jake with that. If you want to find Jake, 9 times out of 10, he at the house. Right? That's how it is. Let's keep on reading. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob, that proverbial mama's boy, right? And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called Edom, right? Because he liked to eat that raw red meat. That's part of his identity. He loves it. He's impatient. He knows better than to eat the blood of an animal, but he said, fuck it. He was hungry. He had no faith. He had no patience. He said, fuck it, give that to me. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. So then right then and there, the birthright was never stolen. But yet the elite banking families, right, the elite bankers, that's what they want. They're going to tell you that. But when you read that the secret, the master plan of the illuminated Rothschild, it's in there. What they're trying to do is to get what? Back the birthright. That's what they want. And they want to keep the real Israelites in perpetual captivity. That's the reason why they're bringing this new world order with the digital all. And not only us, but the whole entire earth. They believe that if they keep us in a state of perpetual sin and iniquity and worshiping them, right, we'll never be able to come out of what we're in right now, this captivity. But you got another thing coming, because the remnant will be saved. The remnant of Israel will be saved. We're being raised up today all throughout the world, right? And this is problematic for the banking families. This is extremely problematic for the ultra elite Edomite families, right? Then they're going to tell you that because they don't talk to the average G. But we're not the average G. We're the aristocrats of our people. So this conversation is a two-way conversation between two aristocratic peoples. One from the hopeful elect of Israel to you banking elite families. You hear this message. Let's keep on reading. You over here crying about something that never belonged to you. We already read early on in this chapter that the elders going to serve the younger. That's and one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elders shall serve the younger. Who came out first? Esau. And Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field. He was faint. Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." And Esau said, "Behold, I'm at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do for me?" So this nigga said, this nigga was he sold his birthright for a piece of meat. He sold it, which the Lord put the spirit on him to do it anyway, because it wasn't for him anyway. It says in the NLT, "Look, I'm dying of starvation." This nigga said he was actually thinking he was starving. It take a while for starvation to kick in, but he was so famished, he was so hungry, he was like, "I'm starving." Esau said, "What good is my birthright to me now?" So he didn't have no faith, right? He knew Yahweh. That whole family knew Yahweh. Okay. Esau said, "Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." And he sware unto him, and sold his birthright unto Jacob. And then Jacob gave Esau the bread and the pottage of lentils, and he said, "Eat and drink." And he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. He despised it. Right? In the NLT it says, "Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and a lentil stew," which had that red bloody meat in it. Esau ate the meal, then got up and left. He showed contempt for his right as the firstborn, and that's what the birthright is. The firstborn would receive the greater blessing, a double portion of the blessing, a double portion of his father's inheritance. And along with that, beyond the material wealth, came the spiritual blessing behind it. But Esau didn't care. He didn't give a shit. Now all of a sudden, when he see the prophecies happening, these elite bankers on a high level, that's what they're trying to do. They're claiming to be the Jews when they're really the Edomites. That's what they're doing. The fucking devil, bro. He's a liar, right? And they taking control of the Holy Land, right? That was all bought and paid for. Brothers, I don't know where y'all live at in the world. When I was coming up in Philadelphia, I used to watch PBS, and that was a public broadcasting station that was brought to you by sponsors. Well, who the sponsor behind the state of Israel? The Rothschild family. Who the banking elite? These are not the Rothschild. She's a Rothschild right here, and Sasha's fingers right here. Look at them big swollen red hands, right? They cut his hair and make him look cleaned up, shave his beard off his face, right? Put a suit on his nigga, put a dress on her, cut her hair, and make her look presentable. But the state of Israel was brought to you and paid for in part by the Rothschild Foundation, in part or in the whole by the Rothschild Foundation. Right? Yeah, this is Evelyn the Rothschild with his daughter, Lady the Rothschild. Or might be his wife. Right? And there's different factions of the family. They're broken up into different factions, but they're all about the same time. They all on the same shit. Perpetual rulership of the earth, right? Enslaving the earth, enslaving the people of the earth, the true sons and daughters of Israel. Matter of fact, there's a picture that I like that Jacob Rothschild, because you saw right here, like the Clintons, right? The Clintons, they always been buddy with the super elite because they're tapped in, they're political elite. You have the super elite, the Rothschilds, and then you have the political elite, which will be these politicians in America and abroad. But anyway, there's a picture of Jacob Rothschild, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know how to spell this nigga name. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, this picture right here. And Hillary Clinton. Right? Because you don't become, you don't become anywhere, you don't get up high in a government anywhere without the Rothschilds say so. But there's another picture. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he had a skull and bones buckle on. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jacob Rothschild, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you see Warren Buffett. This is political, some of the political elite, business elite, right? But there was a better picture of Jacob Rothschild and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton. Yeah. Well, we got that picture right there. And there was another one, right? These people, these are the banking and political elite, the business elite, right? Anyway, it don't even matter. Fuck these people. Anyway, let's go back to the precepts. So when you go back to verse Genesis 27, they talk about the stolen birthright. His blessing got taken away from him. And then his birthright, he sold that. Esau sold his birthright, right? You read that in the book of Hebrews 12 and 16. And that's what this is all about. This whole thing at the end of the day is about the Rothschilds trying to get back something that don't belong to them, that never belonged to them, right? But they ain't going to tell you who the true Israelites are. That's our job. So I went the apostles and the bishop elders of great millstone, the men of the Lord. Hebrews 12 and 16, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, because Esau, he's outside of the temple. He's a heathen nation. That's all he is. He's nothing to the Most High. Who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. He sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, right? He was rejected, but he can't accept that rejection. So what? He wants to try to formulate a pseudo blessing, a technological blessing. That's what he wants, right? That's what he wants. That's what he desires. But he was rejected. One of you brothers can post a precept in an Apocrypha where it says the Most High chose Jacob and set by Esau. He put him by. He kicked that nigga to the side. For we know that because in reality, Jacob, he's the first. He's truly the first, right? Not Esau. In the eyes of Yahweh Shai, Jacob has preeminence over Esau. And he can do what he wants when it comes to the birthright. For ye know that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. And this is what we're about to get into, right? Because that's what the whole Rothschild, the Rothschilds know that they're Edomites, right? They know that they're Edomites. They know that they're not Israelites. They know that for a fact. They know that the words that we saying are true, right? They can't deny it. Because if they could, why come down on this day? If you truly are the Lord's people, right? If you truly are the Israelites, right? You call on one hand, you call yourself, you know that you're the Edomites, but then you try to call yourself also the king of the Jews. You got to be one or the other, either an Israelite or a heathen. You're either an Israelite or an Edomite. You can't be both. You cannot be both. Okay? Genesis 27:30, the stolen blessing. And it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of, matter of fact, Salakia. And this whole chapter is good. Jacob's deception. They call it deception. It really wasn't. It just was part of the controversy of prophecy being fulfilled. That's all. And it came to pass, Genesis 27:1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son and said unto him, my son. And he said unto him, behold, here I am. And he said, behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field and take me some venison. Basically, go hunt me some of that good lawful food, right? And make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And this is an important thing, right? And Rebecca heard, his mother heard. His mother overheard this. Slot. Sloppy about that, brothers. Anyway, and Rebecca heard when Isaac spake to Esau, his son. So his mother overheard it. And Esau, because she remembered, the Spirit of the Lord jumped on her. She remembered what was told to her prior to them being born. The elder shall serve the younger. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau, his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob, her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau, thy brother, saying, bring me venison and make me savory meat, that I may eat. And bless thee before the Lord, Yahweh, Bashiach Shah, before my death. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of goats, 2 baby goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man, right? My father preadventure will fill me, and shall seem to me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver. So Jacob didn't want to do it at first. He was like, no, why? I don't want to do that, mother. You know what I mean? My dad won't believe, he gonna think I'm deceiving him. I shall bring a curse upon me and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice and go fetch me them. So he did the right thing. He obeyed his mother. He was supposed to, like he obeyed his father. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved, because she know what her man like. She didn't want to start cooking up that good venison. She showed Esau how to cook. You know what I'm saying? And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands. So the Esau must have really been hairy. You know, you ever see a hairy white man? Like this is Esau's natural form, right? Natural form, hairy white man, right? This is Esau's natural form right here. Yeah, this shit right here. This is Esau's natural form, right? He shaves his beard, his hair, he shaves his body, but he's a hairy man. He's a beast. And Judah don't really look at this shit. Judah don't really get like this. Judah don't really get like this. Jacob don't really get hairy. And we got brothers that got hair. Look right here. This is Esau. This is grade A Edomite right here. Right here, grade A Edomite. This is the natural form of the Edomite. A nigga like a bear, bro. Look how hairy he is, bro. And you know he funky. You can't keep that shit clean. You can't keep that shit clean and smelling good and perfumed up. You can't do that. That's impossible. Impossible, right? So he said, and she put the skins of the kids on of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared in the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto the father, I am unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit, eat my venison, that thy soul may be blessed, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou found it so quickly, my son? Because it take a while to hunt them shits, man. You ain't got to cook it up, got to skin it, got to cook it. It take a while for that to be made. And he said, because Yahweh, thy power, brought it to me, which he did. Right? Albeit with controversy, he did bring it to him. Esau can't understand that. He's a carnal man. He don't understand spiritual things. And Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac, his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he know his sons, but he was like, look, man, I might be hearing things. And he discerned them not, because his hands were hairy as his brothers, like hairy, like this. He felt that goat hair on him, the smell of that shit. Nigga smelled like the outdoors. He's an outdoorsman. And he still smells like an outdoorsman. Don't get this, right? Don't get this confused. It take a lot for Esau to get like this. It take a lot for him throughout his day and time. He got to wax himself. He got to shave himself. That's what they do, right? They gotta trim that shit, because the white woman, she's just as filthy as he is and hairy as he is. They gotta, man, don't let the smooth taste fool you. This is their natural habitat. This is their natural look, right? And even then, this is curtailed because he cut his hair. Even this is curtailed. You know what I'm saying? Don't let the smooth taste fool you. Anyway. He said, and so he blessed, and he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother's Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, bring it near me, and I will eat my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of the raiment, and he blessed him and said, see, the smell is my son. The smell of my son is the smell of the field, which Yahweh hath blessed. Therefore, the Most High give thee the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, blessed be he that blesseth thee. And Esau, Edom, you're going to really be cursed. In the kingdom, when the kingdom of heaven is instituted, when Yahweh Shai get back, you Edomites, you're gonna be cursed. You're already cursed, right? But you're really gonna be cursed, right? You're really gonna be cursed. I want to read this real quick. Hopefully it comes out clearer. Y'all bear with me, brother. I'm trying to make this. The Lynn Forrester. Let me see something, because I can't read that. Is the Rothschild influence fading? Economist state sell controversies explained, which it ain't fading. right? It says the Rothschild shakeup. Lynn Forrester, the Rothschild sells economist state. That don't mean nothing. Epstein links tarnished family image. No, it didn't. Paris office of Edmund Group raided by police. Yeah, right. This is all a funny show. These are the devil. This is Satan's children. These are Edomites. Let's go back to this, right? Let people serve thee and nations bow down. And that's what Esau wants. That's why he wants to put that RFID microchip in the people. We already know what Aaron Russo told Alex Jones straight from his mouth. And the same thing the Rothschilds want, the same thing the Rockefellers want. The banking families, those banking elites, they want to put a chip in everybody to control everybody. And all money is going to be on those chips because they want people to serve them. They want nations to bow down to them. They want be Lord over thy brother and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee. Blessed be everyone. Blessed be he that blesseth thee. The stolen blessing. And it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat and brought it. Yeah, it takes trillions of dollars. He had to get them cleaned up. He also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. Look, Esau, I'm thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. You know, wiggling. You could tell that nigga start getting red and start getting anxiety and shit, heart start palpitating. And Isaac trembled, very scared, very exceedingly, and said, Who? Where is he that taketh venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten it all before thou camest, and I have blessed him. Yeah, and he shall be blessed. So Isaac ain't like Esau. Esau supposedly give you his word, he takes it back. No, you couldn't do that in the ancient world. Your word was your bond. Right? Isaac began to tremble uncontrollably and said, then who just served me wild game? I have already eaten it and blessed him just before you came. And yes, that blessing must stand. And that's what Esau Edom can't understand. He can't understand why this blessing must stand. Matter of fact, this is the master plan. The master plan of the illuminated Rothschild. Yeah. Right here. This is a conversation with Marion Knox and Ronald Patton. Right? It says right here. It says can you be more specific as to the role the Rothschilds play in all of this? Well, most people who are into conspiracy know the Rothschilds are the most powerful family in the world, which you're going to get into. That's why I just entitled If I Were a Rothschild, going back to that song, If I Were a Rich Man. But you really don't hear about the details related to how they had set themselves up to be king of the Jews and to usher in an Antichrist, which is many anti-Hamashiachs. If you are anti the Most High's anointed, you're an anti-Messiah. You're anti-anointed. You're what they call Antichrist. It ain't just one. It was the Rothschilds are anti-Messiahs. They don't want the Messiah to come. Right? It was the Rothschilds who financially backed the nation of Israel, which they didn't back the nation, they backed the state of Israel. So they could what? So they could eventually set up the throne for the Antichrist in Jerusalem. And yet, during World War II, their money and resources were used to kill millions of Jews, millions of Edomites. but they were seen as expendable Jews from the house of Jacob. Remember, these guys have the audacity to use the Bible as a blueprint to take over the world because of that blessing. Let me give you some background information. On one level, the Rothschilds secretly called themselves the House of David from the tribe of Judah. Now, the Rothschild, or Rothschild, translated from the German English, means red shield. During the biblical times, the Edomite fortress was the red rocks of Petra. Esau, the twin brother of Jacob, was described as red and hairy. So this information fits perfectly with what survivors have been telling me, that on a deeper level, the Rothschilds are claiming to be descendants of Esau and thus are really from the house of the tribe of Esau. What they are trying to do is to get back the birthright from the house of Jacob, who are the real Jews. And who are the real Jews? We are the Israelites, starting with the so-called Negroes, African American, going down to the so-called West Indian, Haitian, Latino, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian. We're the real Israelites. The Bible speaks of. We're the real Israelites. Come on, man. We're the real Israelites. The Bible speaks of. And that's what this thing go all the way back to. They're not going to tell you that, but that's our job to tell you the truth. And when so anyway, going back to Genesis 27 and 34, and when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great, exceeding bitter cry. He cried like a bitch, man. Oh, he cried. It would have scared you the way he was yelling and screaming and dropping them tears, man. And he said unto his father, bless me, even me also, my father. And he said, thy brother came subtly and have taken away thy blessing. And he said, like, no one ever questions why Esau went so hard on the so-called Negro, West Indian, Haitian, Latino, Native American. Why he went so hard on us? He's taken over other nations. He's destroyed other countries. He's taken other nations' resources, but he never did what he did to us, to them. Never. Well, this is the reason why. He said, thy brother came with subtlety and have taken away thy blessing. And he said, is he not rightfully named Jacob? He have supplanted me this 2 times. He supplanted me 2 times. What, nigga? He took away my birthright. No, he didn't. You sold it. We read it. If everybody was listening intently, that's on the comment board right now. If Esau sold Jacob his birthright, press 1. Press a 1. If Jacob took away his birthright, took it away, meaning he stole it from him, right? Put a 2. But I know what the scriptures say. That nigga sold that shit. He despised it. He despised it, man. He despised it. But yet he lied to his father. This is Cain all over again, bro. This nigga's a liar. And Jacob is Abel. Right? That's right, brothers. Number 1, he nigga sold it. It says he supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy Lord. So we're going to be your lords, nigga. Ain't nothing you can do. No MOTB, no mark of the beast, no New World Order, no army, no clandestine military, no amount of money is going to stop the inevitable. Like Thanos said, I'm inevitable. I am inevitable. Meaning I'm going to happen, nigga. I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me. This nigga started begging. He was on his knees. He was crying and shit. He was shaking. You know, he was fucked up, man. Even me also, oh my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. I hate him. I hate you. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, this is where I want to get to. This is going to usher in the main topic of this lesson. Verse 39. Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling place Thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And this is the reason why the Edomites hate us to this day. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning of my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother. This nigga said he's going to murder his brother. And these words Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. So this nigga was so angry, he told his mother, I'm gonna kill Jacob. He didn't blame his mother for supplanting him out of the whole thing. He didn't even blame the Heavenly Father Yahweh. He blamed Jacob. And he said, I hate him. And I'm gonna kill him. And that's been his mode of operandi ever since. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau is touching thee, doth comfort himself, purpose to kill thee. Yo, get the fuck up out of here. Your brother he gonna murder you, bro. He gonna kill you, man, for that blessing. Right? So let me go back up here, verse 40. I'm sorry, verse 39. And we're gonna read this in the NLT and the AMP. Right? Finally, his father Isaac said to him, and you ain't going to be able to cry your way out of this. You ain't going to be able to beg Yahweh Shai for no blessing or some type of comfort. When Yahweh Shai come back, which is Isaac, your father, when he comes back, he going to beat you in the fucking ground. And you ain't going to be able to beg us to give you shit because you're in your blessing. Right? You had your blessing. You had your time. You had more than one time to rule. We only had 40 years. Well, we did have 1,000 years. Let me take that back. We had 1,000 years when we was on top. But you see where that led us to this, right? So we had 1,040 years, but we really had only 40 years apiece, right? So you Edomites, you got it coming to you. In the NLT, finally his father Isaac said unto him, you will live away from the richness of the earth and away from the dew of the heavens above. Oh, that was judgment. And the MP says, then Isaac, his father, answered and prophesied and said to him, your dwelling shall be away from the fertility of the earth and away from the dew of heaven. Well, look where this is where the Edomite really belong, right here. Not in the suits and ties, not in this shit right here. Where's it at? Not in nothing like this. You don't belong in this. You don't belong in Waddesdon Manor. You don't belong in a manicured field. Where's the Rothschild house? I don't need this. Where's that shit at? Right. This Rothschild family, Rothschild houses. Yeah. This is Rothschild's first home. Right here. You don't belong in this Rothschild homes. These different homes. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Which he sold this to some Arabs, some Ishmaelites. They sold this a minute ago. Right? You don't belong in this shit. This is where you belong at. I'm gonna show you where you belong at, Esau. This is away from the dew of the fatness of the earth. This is where you belong at. The red rocks of Petra. Right? You took this and you put it into the earth. The Nabateans didn't build this. The Edomites built this. Right? This is where the devil belongs at. And there's no fertility here. Right? There's no fatness of the earth here. This is what was given to Esau as an inheritance. And he ain't lived here in millennium. He hasn't lived here in millennium. Let's go back to this. Finally, his father, Isaac, in the AMP, then Isaac, his father, answered and prophesied and said to him, your dwelling shall be away from the fertility of the earth. This is the fertility. This is the way from the fertility of the earth. Because they only show you this monument right here. Now you go anywhere in the earth, they still build this way. Roman and Greek building, they still build this way, even in America today. Okay. And this is away from the fertility of the earth. There's no fertility out here. Ain't nothing but rocks and shit. Right? All they had was control of the King's Highway. This is where they lived in, brothers. This is what the Edomite lived in. They even have an amphitheater. They even have an amphitheater, right? And they still build this way. This goes back, this reminiscent of the Colosseums and all of that. It came from Petra. It came from Petra, brothers. There's no fertility here, right? That place is sparse, right? Then Isaac, his father, answered and prophesied and said to him, your dwelling shall be away from the fertility of the earth and away from the dew of the heaven, right? Okay. And by the sword shalt thou live. This is how Esau lives. He has to kill people by the sword. And shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke off thy neck. Let's read that in the AMP. In the NLT and the AMP. You will live by your sword. You will serve your brother. So he's still going to serve. But when you decide to break free, you will shake his yoke from your neck. And he did that. He did that when he broke free. When he broke free after King Solomon's death, when he broke free after that 1,000 years of what you call the Middle Ages, and what he put his yoke on us. And now he dwells here. He dwells in shit like, not this shit. This is the first spot. Right here. Like this. Right? This is where these devils dwell at. You know, these well manicured matter of fact, I was watching this earlier.
The Rothschild family is one of the world's wealthiest and most prominent family. They have been involved in banking and finance for centuries and accumulated vast wealth over the years. Today, we will open the grandeur curtains and discover everything about the most expensive Rothschild family houses they have ever owned.
How did they get this? Through the sword. Wars. Schicklgruber, his mother, Maya Amschel's wife, she said, if my sons didn't want war, there would be no war. But why do they want war? Because you want to buy when blood is in the street. They don't shy away from blood. Just because you see them in these suits, look, this shit don't even look good on this nigga. It look too big for him and everything, but this is done on purpose. They love blood. They kill for the sport. They play with human lives. They kill Israelites. They don't give a damn. In order for them to get this shit, blood had to be shed. In order for them to be the rich man, in order for songs to be made about them, right? In order for music to be made about them, they had to kill a lot of people. They had to. And that's how they live, by the sword. Right? So going into the crux of the lesson, so we'll wrap this thing up. Why was the song If I Were a Rich Man changed from If I Were a Rothschild? Right? And it says, excuse me. Y'all bear with me, brothers. Yes, there really is a Rothschild connection, right? It says, yes, there really is a Rothschild connection, but there is an important distinction between Sholem Aleichem's original work and the Broadway song. Sholem Aleichem, whose Tevye story became the basis for the Fiddler on the Roof, wrote a Yiddish monologue in 1902 titled Wenn ich bin Rothschild, If I Were a Rothschild. If I Were a Rothschild. At the time, Rothschild was practically shortened for extraordinary wealth, especially among European Jewish communities. When Jerry Bach and Sheldon Harnick created Fiddler on the Roof in the early 1960s, that idea helped inspire If I Were a Rich Man. The Broadway version changed the specific reference to the Rothschild. And why did they change that? Because they wanted to hide it. Reference to the Rothschild family into the more universal phrase, a rich man. One account of the development specifically says Bach and Herrick made the change so Western audiences could relate to the idea more immediately. That mattered because an American theater goer in 1964 did not need to know who the Rothschilds were to understand If I Were a Rich Man. Whereas If I Were a Rothschild carries a much more specifically Jewish historical meaning for a poor Jewish character living in the Russian Empire. Saying he wished he were a Rothschild was essentially saying, imagine if I possessed the almost unimaginable wealth and security associated with that famous Jewish banking family, because that's what the wicked have. And they're in peace and safety, right? This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 1, verse 15. Zechariah 1 and 15. And I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, but I am very angry with the other nations that are now enjoying peace and security. And that starts with the nation of Edom. I was only starting with the banking elite families. I was only a little angry with my people, but the nations inflicted harm on them beyond my intentions. Right. The Rothschilds, they get to live in palatial peace and safety. This is peace and safety right here. Right? This shit right here. Ain't nobody coming up in here. They ain't got to worry about gang fights. They ain't got to worry about GMOs. They don't have to worry about smog, chemical industrial plants mucking up the area. They ain't got to. These niggas live better than kings. These people live better than kings, bro. Only a Rothschild can afford something like this. You know what I'm saying? Waddington Manor, right? Look at this shit. They ain't got to worry about gang fights. They ain't got to worry about crack, heroin, right? Cocaine, drugs, alcohol, violence. They don't got to worry about none of that. This is security and peace. But how do they get that? By destroying the Lord's people, right? They're dwelling, and not only them, all the other nations, they dwelling in peace and safety too. They fighting each other. We're not fighting them. Okay, so let's go back to this. Right? It says, imagine if I possessed the almost unimaginable wealth and security associated with that famous Jewish banking family. The Ontario Jewish Archives described the Rothschilds' wealth as having become legendary among impoverished Jews in the Pale of Settlement. There's also something particularly interesting that confirms this wasn't simply forgotten. The Yiddish version of The Fiddler on the Roof restored the title Bin Ich bin Rothschild, If I Were a Rothschild. The New York Times reported that the Yiddish adaptation deliberately restored several Jewish-specific elements that had been generalized or toned down for English Broadway production because they didn't want the average person knowing about the Rothschilds and about their wealth and about the power that they have. So historical progression is roughly Shalom Eklund 1902, If I Were a Rothschild, to the Broadway adaptation in 1964, If I Were a Rich Man, to the Yiddish Fiddler adaptation, If I Were a Rothschild again. And there's an important correction to a common claim. The Broadway lyrics weren't simply the original If I Were a Rothschild song with the Rothschild replaced by Rich Man. Shlomo Eklund's piece was a literary monologue or story, while Henrik Bach created a new theatrical song, drawing inspiration and material from Eklund writings. Right? It says the key point is that the original If I Were a Rothschild reflects how famous the Rothschild name had become, and they don't like that, right? The Rockefellers either. Jay Rockefeller said it'd been better if the internet never existed because the internet exposes them. They'll reduce it to conspiracy theorists. They'll reduce it to the Illuminati talk, right? That shit. They'll put out fake conspiracy theorists, but then you have real people like Eustace Mellons, William Cooper, right? And for a time, Jordan Maxwell. So he bugged out and died. But a real good one is Eustace Mellons, man. He goes into depth about them, and they try to kill him, right? Says, if the Rothschilds started out impoverished, how did they become one of the world's most prominent families? Which they didn't really start out impoverished, right? They didn't really start that. right? They had connections. They live right next to the Oppenheimers. They are a striking example of how a family could move from relative modest circumstances to enormous wealth within a few generations. But it wasn't a simple poor family suddenly becoming bankers story. Meyer Amschel Rothschild built the foundation, and his 5 sons transformed it into an international financial network, right? And this is Esau right here, buddy. Look at Edom. Look at Edom right here. That's Edom's face, the face of the Edomites, right? The Edomites. Meyer Amschel was born in Frankfurt, Judengasse, the segregated Jewish quarter in 1744. Jews there lived under significant legal restrictions. Doesn't mean they were poor. His father, however, wasn't completely destitute. He traded goods, exchanged currency, supplied collectible coins to the Prince of Hesse. And then he ended up managing the Prince of Hesse money. So it is more accurate to describe Meyer as coming from restricted and relatively humble circumstances rather than absolute poverty. He didn't come from absolute poverty. I want to get to the point where it says he had supernatural. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, right here. The brothers maintain extensive correspondence about prices, markets, political developments, and business opportunities. The Rothschilds archive notes that speed and effectiveness of communication were hallmarks of their early operation. This is where history sometimes gets mixed with legend. Stories develop claiming that the Rothschilds possessed virtually supernatural intelligence networks and secretly controlled governments, and they still do. There's little need for those explanations. Supernatural because Satan was working with them. Satan was working with these people, and he's still working with them. But eventually, that network that you have with Satan is gonna collapse. It's not gonna work no more. The 1-900, the 166, 1-900-666 about to be disconnected, and you're about to go from from riches to rags, right? This shit right here, the furs, the $5,000 suits, the tailor-made suits and dresses, all that shit. The awards, the accolades, the yellow teeth, the blood-stained meats, all of that shit is about to go in the toilet, right? And you Edomites, you're going to be upset because you didn't get to live this life like this. The super elite, this is the last go. This is the last hurrah for you, man. You're about to be put in the holes, right? And you're about to be gathered up as a fat in a pit. Right, you about to be put in a pit, right? Oh man, this is as prisoners gathered in a pit. Prisoners gathered in a pit. That's what you're about to be, right? Shut up. Hold on, brothers. Y'all bear with me. I'm trying to look for this precept. Shut up. Shut up. Yeah, Isaiah 24 and 22, right? I'll start at 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord Yahweh Shai shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high. These are an example of that right here. These are the hosts of the high ones that are on high. Right? This shit right here. They're about to be punished. Right? They're about to be punished. Let's go back to that. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh Shai shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And that's these Edomites, the Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the DuPonts. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit, and they shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days shall they be visited. We're going to gather up all you super elite banking families, throw you into a pit, close the door. One word of sass, cut out your tongue. we're gonna fuck you up, man. Now y'all gonna go from living in this shit right here, Waddington Manor, right? You're gonna go from living in this to a hole in the ground. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine how overnight this shit gonna happen? And they're gonna try to kill themselves because you know how Esau do. They try to commit suicide. I don't give a shit. We still gonna throw that body in the pit, and guess what? We're gonna wake your ass up. Like my man Damon told Magic Mike, wake your punk ass up, Lucky Charms. Is this a dream? Yeah, it's a dream. It's a wet dream. We're gonna fuck you up, man. Who we gonna fuck? It sucks to be an Edomite. I wouldn't want to be an Edomite. I wouldn't want to be an Edomite. Absolutely not. Right? It says, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners in a pit, and gathered in a pit, and they shall be shut up in prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Let's read this in the NLT and the AMP, and we'll close it out. They will be rounded up. That's right. We're gonna round you up. Who's gonna be rounding you up? The elect. Right? Lord willing, with some of those men to round you up. They will be rounded up and put in prison. They will be shut up in prison. Not no ADX, Florence, Colorado. Nah, nigga, not no black site. Nah. You're going to be thrown into the hole in the ground. Right? And will finally be punished. Right? In the AMP, they will be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a dungeon. And they will be shut up in prison. And after many days, they shall be visited and punished. We're going to read this in the GNT. Isaiah 22, 24, and 22. Isaiah GNT. Okay, GNT. Isaiah 24, Isaiah 24 and 22 and GNT. Isaiah chapter 24, verse 22 in GNT. The Most High will crowd kings together like prisoners in a pit. So all them banking family elites and the ones that died, they're going to come back in slavery. David Rockefeller, he knows he's coming back in slavery. Jacob Rothschild, he knows he's coming back in slavery. Evelyn the Rothschild, he knows he's coming back in slavery. They're done. The Most High will crowd kings together like prisoners in a pit. He will shut them in prison until the time of their punishment comes. Because that's a lot of work. We're going to be around there. We're going to be gathering you motherfucking heathen nations up from around the world. You rulers, your banking elites. You're the first on the list. And your first job is going to be to bury those bodies. Your first job is going to be to bury those bodies. Your first job is going to be to bury those bodies from that great war that you had the hand in doing. That's going to be your first job. So can you imagine? These people ain't never did no hard work in their life. She ain't never had no hard work done in her life. These people, they got people scared of them. Prince Charles, what's this nigga name? Prince William, the redhead that was the product of adultery. Yeah, you ain't never did no work, man. He ain't never did no work, man. We're gonna get you. We coming for you, man. So says Yahweh Shai. And this is what you're afraid of. These smiles and these giggles, this shit's gonna go out the window. You're never gonna smile again. You're gonna have the teeth to do it. We're gonna put a boot in your fucking mouth. We're gonna stomp you into the ground and wake you back up and put you to work. And I love my famous monologue from the Django, man. And as a slave of Yahweh Shai Mining Company, Yasha Allah Mining Company, we're going to take away your name, give you a number and a hammer, and say, get to work. And from henceforth to the day you die, you're going to turn big rocks into little rocks. Huh? Going to give you a name. Going to give you a number, take away your name, give you a sledgehammer. One word of sass, We'll cut out your tongue. And we do it well too. You ain't gonna bleed out. Oh no, you ain't gonna bleed out. You're gonna work. You're gonna work 1,000 long years, man. You thought the Middle Ages was something? It's child's play. You thought the transatlantic slave trade was something? Child's play. You thought the taking over the Americas was something? Child's play compared to what we're gonna bring to you super elite banking families, man. And you scared, so you better be scared. I'll end it off with this, Revelation 12 and 12. Revelation 12 and 12. Revelation 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell therein, that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, not Satan, I'm talking about Esau, Edom, starting with you banking elite families, is going to come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So he's going to bring it all. He's going to bring it on. They're going to bring out all the stops. They're going to bring out the robots. They're going to bring out the robot dogs, all the disease, all their armies. They're going to come with the full force. But Yahweh Shema Shah is going to raise up their standard. He's going to give us spiritual powers. We're going to obliterate you, even in these bodies. And then when we get the new body, oh man, you're done. You're finished. You're out of here. And there's nothing you can do but put your head down and get to work. So I hope you brothers were edified with this lesson. I didn't mean to make it go so long. I hope you got something out of this. This has been If I Were a Rothschild, right? I hope you got the history, the understanding of the song, right? And a little background on the Rothschild family, right? Their enemy, their public enemy number one. And if you were edified by this, put a 1 up. If you weren't, put a 2, right? With that, all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Baharakah, Kadash, double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders, a great millstone, teachers word and truth and sincerity, for ruling well. Salutations to the elect. Keep pushing, keep striving. We're almost out of here. Shalom. Shalom.